Hey guys, welcome back to The Awakening Artist. My name is Dana, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to build up your creative business from a steady foundation, when to make the shift into going full time with your work. And I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks that I had wished I had known when I was first starting out. So stick around to the end of the video and hopefully it's going to help you guys avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into and really just build up your work so that you can make a confident transition into being full-time with your art. So when I was first starting my commission business and I was trying to make that transition into full-time, I made the mistake multiple times of trying to jump into being full-time before I was really ready for it. And I had been, learning a lot of like the mindsets and the philosophies around just take the leap, jump into your passion, and it's gonna catch you and you're gonna soar. And I think elements of that are definitely true, but I also believe that it's extremely difficult to build any kind of creative profession when you are struggling in your foundations. And what I mean by that is when we are, what is the foundations of our business? Ultimately, the foundations of our business is our stability and our security financially. It's having, it's having a roof over our head. It's having, some money in the bank to support our passions and having food on the table. And if we don't have those foundational levels covered and strong, then our creative passions and trying to bring our offerings to the world and giving services to other people, it's going to be from an energy of need and lack and fear. And the thing is, your clients and the people that you're trying to sell your offerings to, they can feel that. And it's this subtle vibration of, I need to sell this to you and this idea has to work because I need to pay my rent, because I need to have food on the table. And so ultimately it's also when we're creatives and we're artists and we're, excuse me, sorry, my voice is today. But when we are creatives and we're artists and we're bringing some magic into the world, we need to feel safe in order to do that. In order to truly tap into our creative reserves and our channels and bring something to the world that is going to be of value to other people, we have to feel safe in our foundations. So when we're in the early stages of connecting to a new exciting offering, a new exciting idea, and we are committed, okay, I'm going to be a full-time artist, I think I just need to take that leap and then it's all going to materialize in front of me. I think in certain ways that works, and sometimes that does work out for people. But for the most part, what I found is I would have these new creative ideas and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to make that leap. I have this idea. I know it's going to work. I'm going to quit my job and just focus everything that I have on this. And then what would happen is I don't have the foundation set up yet for this new offering, or I don't have the clientele basis connected yet, where the money and the interest is not quite rolling in yet. And so then I quit my job to focus everything on this new offering. And then I start to feel stressed and I'm like, oh shit, okay, my rent is due in a couple of weeks. I have to make this work out with these clients. I have to make this idea work. And I'm committed to this. And so I know it's going to work. But then ultimately what ends up happening is our frequency changes to a place where we're in need and we're in lack. And we're like, okay, I need my clients to support me. I need my clients to pay for my services. And again, like I mentioned before, that's creating an energy field of need. And your clients don't like to feel needed, like you're relying on them. So then what happens is we end up kind of sabotaging our growth because we're sacrificing our foundations, we're stressing ourselves out. We don't know how we're going to make money doing what we love, but we just know if I just do what I love, then it's going to work out. But then ultimately, that time comes when it's like you have bills that are due, then we think that we failed, right? Because we're like, okay, well, it didn't work and I failed and I'm not making the money and now I need to ask for help or I need to figure something out. I jumped in, I took the leap, I was committed. Like, why didn't this work? And ultimately, it's this pitfall that we fall into of trying to jump into being full-time a little bit too soon. And that's not to say that, it's like if you don't, if you're not believing in yourself and you don't take that leap, then it's just not going to happen. And I think it's a fine line of believing in yourself and putting yourself out there and taking that leap. But at the same time, like I tell a lot of artists, don't quit your day job. Because what we want to cultivate as an artist is we want to have a steady foundation, okay? And by steady, that doesn't mean that you have to be like pouring 40 to 50 hours per week in this job so that you're like having this abundant lifestyle, and you're pouring all of your energy into this, and so then you don't have any time left over to do art. And I know sometimes like that's necessary when we have families and we have kids and we have to keep supporting these foundations. But sometimes it just means doing the bare minimum that you have to with this other job, this thing that might not be your passion, to just keep your foundation steady. So if you just need to be making $2,000 per month to like basically cover your foundations, but you're working your ass off to make $5,000 because that's what you think you need to be safe, then it starts in making that shift of like, okay, maybe how can I cut back these hours? How can I cut back this time and this energy, or utilize my energy in a little bit better of a way so that I'm covering the foundations, but then all of my extra time and energy is going into building these creative offerings. And so to give you guys an example of this, when I left art school down in Laguna Beach, Southern California, I moved to Sedona, Arizona, and I was like, I had made the mistake multiple times at that point of like, okay, I'm going to jump into full time too soon, before I really had the foundation secured and I had like the interest for my work coming in and the offerings really built out. Just because I was like, I know how the universe works and I need to take that leap and it's just going to work out magically. And for me anyway, I fell on my face multiple times and I had to ask for help and I was struggling. And so when I moved to Sedona, I was like, okay, I'm going to approach this differently. I know that my foundations are extremely important and I'm not going to be able to be painting and channeling and creating offerings of value to my people if I am afraid that I can't pay my rent and I don't know how to support myself, right? So when I moved to Sedona, I got a job, and this job I was just working the hours, like I said, that I needed just to cover my foundations, where it was a stretch and I wasn't able to take trips or really like buy things that I wanted to buy. Like it was like I was just making enough money at this job where I was kind of covering the foundations, but I was leaving myself enough time where I was committed to building this commission business that I had built. And so I'm a painter. The commission business that I had built is I got really clear and really specific that I wanted to do channeled paintings of beings and guides. And I created this spirit guide painting commission business. And so, there's a certain kind of grind phase that happens when you're building up your work, where you're going to be working this job either part-time or full-time. And you're going to be building your own offerings at the same time on the side. And this is usually the hardest part that a lot of people, they either go one of two ways. They either say, okay, the job, it's too much, I can't do it. I'm going to jump full time into my creative practice. But before they're quite ready, and then it ends up sabotaging and we're not able to support our foundations and our frequency drops and we're in a state of fear, and then we perceive ourselves as having failed in this creative pursuit, and then we have to go back to the job or we have to ask for help, and it takes a hit on our confidence in our creative pursuits. Or we start to feel like, okay, this is too much. I know I need this job for my foundations, but building this business and these offerings is too hard, and we run away from it and we put it all away and put it in the drawer, or we make extremely slow progress and we're hard on ourselves for it. And so what I had done when I moved to Sedona was I was working this job. I was just basically covering my foundations. very, very modestly. And at the same time, I was like committed to this grind phase. And I was like, okay, I know this is going to be a lot of work. So I would wake up in the morning and I would paint for 3 hours, and then I would go to work for like most of the day in the afternoon, and then I would get off work, and then I would be building the business and researching and like taking courses and learning how to market and find my niche and build the business that I wanted to build. And it was like 8 to 12 hour days for like, I think I did that for like 3 or 4 months, and I was exhausted. And this is usually the hardest part, where people think, okay, I can't keep doing this. This isn't sustainable. But what starts to happen is we have this job. We're putting the energy into the job. It's like this. And we have our creative passion and our creative pursuit, the thing that we know is going to be able to take us full time if we just keep working at it. And so we put in the work for a period of time, however long that takes. It could take a month, it could take, a year, whatever it is for you. But we start to, do the work to raise this level up. And then what starts to happen is, okay, we have it consistent, we're working hard, we're raising both of them at the same time, we're supporting our foundations, but then at the same time, we're building up our work and our offerings and the things we really want to be doing with our time. And it's a lot, and it's like diamonds are formed under pressure. And then eventually what starts to happen is, okay, then the interest starts coming in, you launch your offerings, things start rolling. It's like you got a lot of things going on at once. And then your offerings, your clients, the interest in your business, it starts to raise up and it starts to increase. And then it gets to a certain point where you're like, okay, I'm getting enough demand and enough interest and energy towards these offerings that I've created that, okay, I'm going to take that leap, then I can let go of this. And we let go of the job and we jump into what we're doing full time. And it's still a bit of a leap of faith, but at that point, the energy is different than what we've been trying to do before. Because then at this point, we're jumping into our offerings and being full time. Even if it's like, again, we're just barely scraping by. And like when I first started my commission business, like I was just barely making enough. Like I was making just about the same amount of money I would have been making at this job. I was able to start pulling in that foundational level. It was like $2,000 per month or something that I needed to at least support my foundations. So then I was able to let this job go, because at that point then I had my offerings were launched and I had people interested in my spear guide paintings and I was signing on clients. And the most important part of this though is that I had learned from making the mistake of jumping in to trying to be full-time with my work before I was ready, and before, ultimately the key is before I had the interest and the demand for my work. And so I knew it was time to make that leap into going full time, even though it was scary and I was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out for a long time. And I didn't know if I was going to fail, but I had enough interest in my passions and my work in these spirit guide paintings. And I had developed a system that I could run and be consistent and sustainable in. And it got to the point where I had enough demand and enough interest in this business that I was building that then I was like, okay, now it's like I literally now, if I'm going to be taking on and growing this business and making all of these paintings, now I literally don't have time because I have so much demand coming in. I literally don't have time to keep this job. So that's when I let it go, and that's when I rose and soared in this business that I had created. So moral of the story is, it is extremely important when you're building up your creative business to make sure you're at least just on a basic level keeping your foundations running so that you're able to hold a consistent frequency, that of security and manifestation and like abundance and creativity, so that you're not falling into the pitfalls of, throwing away your foundations and just, jumping straight into this dream before it's really like materialized. And it doesn't even have to materialize fully. Like I said, when I made that transition into being full-time, I had just enough demand for my offerings and was signing on enough clients where I was able to just basically make the same amount of money I was making at this job. then it was like, okay, I'm making just enough to cover these foundations. Now it's time to take that leap. So if you guys are, maybe you've fallen into the same pitfalls that I did before, where you jumped in a little bit too soon and then you start freaking out and then you perceive that you have failed. You didn't fail. It's like all of it's so hard to figure out, and it's a practice, it's a trial and error practice that like you just have to learn for yourself. And if you took that leap and you ended up kind of falling on your face, like don't let it get you down, because that ultimately taught you like, okay, the value and the importance of these foundations. And okay, let's think about like how can I like work hard to bring up both of these levels so that this one with the full-time job can just start to slide away because I put in enough work to bring in the interest and the demand for my offering. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe for new creative content. And I will see you guys in the next video.